All right, guys, we're back. So, finished the quarterbacks and receivers group. The first group, I should say. Second group is up now. They've been running there 40 times. We saw Jordan Love run his. Started Jordan on his 40. Who else was there? Cole McDonald, Nate Stanley, James Morgan, a couple others. Second group of receivers are up now. Judy, Lamb, Ruggs, Schnoll, all of them are going. But we're gonna start first off. We're gonna talk about the quarterbacks group is going. And me and Jay, it was a pretty good group. I think we had
Yeah.
Hurts, Kelly Bryant, Aaron Gordon, Eason, Herbert. You know, I think all of them did pretty well. What were your thoughts on that first group?
For the most part, I feel like it's kind of what you would expect from this group. I feel like Jalen Hurns kind of shined more than Justin Herbert, which in the long run will hurt Justin Herbert because Herbert didn't. He wasn't bad, but he also he felt like he just wasn't trying to screw up. Like he wasn't trying to separate himself. He was just trying not to lose his draft stock. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I can't look at him and be like, hey, that's a top 10 pick, which is what I kind of wanted to see. Like, the talent's there, but can I look at him like, yo, that's my quarterback? Nah, he's not that guy. Jalen Hurns looked like a guy where, he could be kind of I'm not going to say Lamar Jackson, but he kind of has the swagger of a guy, like he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. Like, he gives you that impression of like, a team that takes him is going to have a lot to work with. And don't be surprised if he gets picked by a team with an older quarterback and he can take over mid-season to next season. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he was starting by mid-season and playing well. I guess my biggest disappointment was probably Jake Fromm because I guess I just kind of expected from end of the season to now some of the things that we worry about with Jake Fromm would get cleaned up, and it just didn't. It's like you still see the inaccuracy, you still see the overthrows, you still see the ball placement being an issue. The one thing I can say is that his arm strength is there when he's sitting there and he's not being rushed by a 350-pound edge rusher. It's like when he's got his feet set, he can make those long throws. It's not going to have as much zip. It's not Aaron Rodgers, but it's there. I mean, you get him behind a really good offensive line where his pocket's clean, comfortably step in. He can make a couple of throws, but he reminds me so much of AJ McCarron. He looks like a career backup. And that's not a bad thing. Like, you can make good money being a career backup, but he's not the guy that we thought he was when he took over for Easton. Like, he's not the guy.
Right.
One guy that I really did like, though, was Kelly Bryant. Kelly Bryant, I think, made himself some money today. All his throws were solid. He moved well. His body, he looked great. He ran a good 40 time. I feel like he's a guy that you can bring into your building, but he just needs to be in the right situation. Like, he can either be your number 2 quarterback or in a pinch, he can start for you. And he's probably a better option than anybody in Pittsburgh right now, honestly. But, he's not a guy that's going to give you, okay. He's not a guy that's going to give you, he's not a franchise quarterback. Like, you don't build your team around Jake Fromm. You kind of, if you have a team and you have a superstar running back and you have all-pro wide receivers, you have a upper echelon defensive line, and you need a plug-and-play kind of guy, kind of what the Chargers have and what the Colts have, you can bring in a Jake Fromm, and he won't lose you a game. I mean, he might if he throws it off a little bit, and, DB tries to jump the route. But, as long as he does everything right, he can win you games. He won't win you a ring, but he can win you games.
Yeah. I've been telling everybody from the beginning I'm not a big Jake Fromm fan, and I know we were talking about it a little before in the group, and we were talking about how we could see the Patriots taking someone like Jake Fromm, but honestly, at this point, I really don't see a point to them taking him because, like I said, they just got Jared Stidham, and I believe they're pretty high on him, and I think he's a better quarterback than Jake Fromm, so I wouldn't even bother to take Jake Fromm. Like, I see Jake Palmer like you said. To me, he's a career backup. Um, see, man, consistent 4.51. But yeah, I just see him just as a career backup. Honestly, like he didn't show me like you said anything that was really impressive. He had his overthrows and I don't know. I never was really impressed with him anyway at Georgia, so I just kind of just confirms it for me. Um, like you said, though, I did like Kelly Bryant, and a lot of people have like a seventh round to an undrafted grade on him. And I mean, if if you know if that's if that's what happens, then it's true. As a Giants fan, I'd be happy to take him as an undrafted priority free agent because I mean we
Listen,
have a whole we have a whole new system, whole new quarterback,
mm,
and all we have is Jones on the roster. So
I
let's get
mean,
to another quarterback that can do it.
honestly, you saw with the Jets last year. You can't get any worse than the two guys we had. I definitely take him as a third guy. We just need a veteran guy behind Sam Darnold. But as a third developmental guy,
Yeah,
I'd
that's
be
what I'm saying.
jumping through hoops to go and get this guy.
Yeah, yeah. Like if he shows stuff
Absolutely.
like that, like yeah, I go off. If I don't know too many free agent veterans right now on the market, like I look at
Yeah.
free agency. You get your guy, you get your veteran guy that can step in and win a game or two for you. God forbid Daniel Jones goes down hurt because he did last season. He showed that he gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That was never hurt, but you go get a veteran that can step in. If DJ's hurt for a game or two, that guy steps in and he gives you the possibility to win. Then you have Kelly Bryant as your number two. Sit behind learning. I'd take him as a developmental kid all day.
Mm-hmm.
6'5". Um, Aaron Gordon's another one. We saw him raw.
Yeah.
He has a big arm and he has solid potential also coming from
Mm-hmm.
Washington. Obviously they sat back in the gun like 99% of the time, so you could see his footwork was sloppy. Needs a lot of work, honestly. He
Mm-hmm.
You could see he was kind of dragging his feet on the ground, and even his 3-step drops and all that stuff. It it showed that like he was kind of focusing on trying to take his steps, which also threw off the timing of his passes and his rhythm and everything. But you can see he
Mm-hmm.
has a live arm. So, I mean, if he's someone that I think needs to go to the first situation and just sit behind somebody and just learn from a veteran quarterback and maybe take over at some
Mm-hmm.
point. You know.
Yep. Absolutely.
What did you think about Eason and Herbert before we wrap this up?
Well, again, you see the arm talent. You see the arm talent. My only concern is on a lot of like the short throws. It was almost like you could tell they were kind of pulling back and trying to be accurate. So like instead of just letting it rip and letting it be natural, they were very much aiming it, and you could tell these guys would first couple of games pick city like linebackers, DBs. My man Jamal Adams would probably get four off of easily, easily. Um, but you see the potential, like you see what's there, but you can tell that those guys are not comfortable in the short game or the intermediate game. I
Right.
say you get burners, they're good, and they both those guys definitely. I hope they go into situations where they can sit. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
AKA, don't go to Miami, Justin. Please don't go to Miami. Actually, you know what? Go to Miami because we could definitely we could get what you guys not being successful. Go to Miami. I'm lying. What am I talking about? They're Miami. Go look at them in five. Definitely look at them in five.
Yeah, people. If Herbert goes there, they might sit him behind Fitzpatrick. He's still there for another year.
I mean, again, and Fitzpatrick he's basically an older Jameis Winston, where you can get 30 touchdowns, but you definitely gonna get 34, 35 interceptions. Because in one game he might give you 10. He may just give you 10.
Yeah, Magic is either boom or bust. He's either 5 touchdowns or 5 picks.
He's
He,
either, he's either a fairy godmother or he's black magic. Like that's just what it is.
I mean, I think either way, I think both of them have a chance to sit. I mean, if Herbert goes to the Dolphins or the Chargers, I think if he goes to the Dolphins, I think he has a better chance of sitting behind
Mm-hmm.
what's his name, behind Matt Fitzpatrick, but I think Fitzpatrick better. But if he goes to the Chargers, I don't think he's going to sit that long because I think they're going to give Tyrod. They're going to run Tyrod Taylor out of Los Angeles, and they're going to just demand Herbert to play. It's either going
I
to be
mean,
Herbert
again,
to play and do good,
I
or
feel like if you're the Chargers, like you got to look at a guy like Case Keenum as a backup. If you draft a guy like Herbert, like you have to make sure this kid sits. Like you can't play him this year. You can't play him next year. Like you just can't. You can't. Like you can see all the talent. It looks all good, but you got to treat him like Pat Mahomes because again, he has that kind of arm. He has that kind of mobility, but in between the ears, it's not there. Like his confidence isn't there. It's not there. And you need to have guys that have been there. Like you like Tyrod Taylor is a great leader to learn from because he's not a rah-rah kind of guy. You know, he goes about his business in a very professional, quiet way, and that's what Herbert kind of has to learn.
yeah.
Like he's a smart guy, he's a smart kid, but he can't see the field next year. Like you can tell there are obvious holes where like if he goes to the wrong situation and you play him out there too early, he may be shot year one.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
You know?
We'll see, man. We'll see.
But
What about Easton? Where do you, real before we finish, what do you think is going to happen with Easton? Where do you think he goes?
I think he has I definitely look at Tampa Bay as a really good situation for him because they can bring back Jameis on a 2-year prove-it deal. And Easton kind of has the same kind of arm. And Bruce Arians can really just kind of cultivate that talent to the quarterback that he would want. And then you get if he's done early, you can structure the deal where you can cut Jameis in a year, and you're good with Easton, and you can just keep going. You know, because you got to get Mike Evans. You got to get Mike Evans somebody that's really going to give it to him. You know, you got to because Mike Evans is in Tampa Bay wasting away. So
he can step into a pretty good situation too. With Evans on one side and Godwin on the other side. And Perriman actually stayed healthy and did something for once this season. So.
Oh well, Perriman's gone. We know that. I tell Perriman's gone.
Well, let me say, you still back get another receiver then.
Yeah.
Go get another receiver. You know, Odin Howard actually did a little better, so he can step in. And again, like I said, you give him a year to sit and develop and learn under Bruce Arians. Maybe you're right. Maybe he can.
Yeah. And I feel like he's the type of guy that would definitely extend Bruce Arians' coaching career another 5 or 6 years maybe.
All right. Well, that wraps up group one of the receivers. We got. Sorry.
The quarterbacks.
I'm getting way ahead of myself. We still got a long way to go. So we're gonna be back. Next topic. Then we're hitting up the receivers, and then I mean we're doing this live, so guys, you know, as we're doing this, as we're talking, we're watching Group 2 the receivers on the 40s right now. Right here, Joe Reed. I actually watched some highlights of him like last night. I actually pretty intrigued by the kid. They have him everywhere. They have a receiver inside, outside. They have. I like him.
He definitely his physically he reminds me of Debo. Like that kind of short guy that you definitely can run jet sweep, you can run trick plays, and you know if he hits that corner, he's gone.
He was doing everything for Virginia. He was running. I said they had him lined up outside. They had him lined up inside. They had him lined up in the backfield. He was doing kick returns. But we get to him. We're gonna watch Ruggs run because Ruggs ran that first one, and he looked kind of We're gonna hit up Group 1 of the receivers, and then we'll come back. We'll end off with Group 2 of the quarterbacks and Group 2 of the receivers. Sound good?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right,
right back at you guys.
We're right back at it, Sports Nation. Sports Mark. Hold on.